Okay, yeah, we're off.
My agenda.
Get your agenda.
Right, well, thank you. So we've got everybody here. We've got a good turnout anyway. So we'll see who else joins us. Right, apologies for absence, Emma.
I've had apologies from Jerry. He did say he may be able to make it. He's on another meeting at the moment, but
Yeah.
apologies from him, and then the long-standing apology from Roy.
Right, are we all happy to accept those?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, good. Right, declaration of interests. We've got a very busy agenda, so there's bound to be something that is of interest to any of us. So if you forget now, declare it later on.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Right, yeah, okay, we'll do it that way around. Okay, right, minutes of the previous meeting then. So the 19th of January one, which I have Emma seen your note and modified.
Oh, lovely, thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was one date was wrong there in the financial reports. Anybody got any problems with those minutes?
No, I'm happy to oppose them.
Okay, they're proposed by David and seconded by Val. All those in favour? That's a full house. All right, they're signed and there and done. And then we've got the minutes from the, what was the date? 22nd of January, at a special meeting that we had. So there was myself, David, Ian, Peter, Val and Jerry. Anybody got any problems with those?
No.
If
No.
not, I'll propose them. A seconder. Yeah, we've got Ian, a seconder. All those in favour? That's good. All right. So those are signed and done. Right. Public participation. So we've got Robert here and George.
Thank you. If I could just say, as New Road is on the agenda, perhaps I could just mention Rock Road just off it. It's particularly poor quality, the road surface, lots of potholes, and that really is something that needs to be dealt with along with many other roads in Arundel.
Well,
Yeah.
Springfield Road is pretty bad as well.
Yeah, so as you have had the great success, Robert, you know, in raising this issue through the street doctor system, you know, just encourage anybody you see to do it, you know, and get them in. Sorry, Clive, I cut across you there.
Sorry?
Sorry, Clive, I thought you were talking.
No, I said as is St. Peter's, as is every road practically in the whole of Arundel. You know, they're all...
Yeah, ideally, yeah, reporting on street doctor, we sort of need to roughly know whereabouts they are, because you do have to pinpoint them on the road. But anybody can do that. So, Robert, if you wanted to put them on, you can.
There's actually
Yeah,
a
I
really
have
horrible one at down by Newhouse on the road to what's that place? Waddenhoe. There's an absolutely appalling one down there which needs reporting because it's quite.
It's up to us as well as the general public to do them if we see them, report them. Yep. So welcome to Malcolm and Peter. Sorry, we started a bit.
I haven't got trouble with this computer actually, so I might disappear. I've got problems with this.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Good evening. Yeah, okay, Malcolm, noted. I think Emma's got problems as well, potential problems tonight as well. So
no, I'm okay, but I think Ian has.
Oh, it was Ian, was it?
I've been sitting here 10-15 minutes waiting to be connected.
Oh wow.
So some of you might drop out then, so long as we keep 5.
Okay.
If you do drop out, we will have to suspend the meeting. But
right. And
okay,
George Eden, did you want to say something, George? You're muted.
No, I haven't got anything to add.
Oh, you just listening. That's very good. It's nice for somebody to listen to us as well. All right then. Thank you. We've got requests from interested parties.
I haven't got anything.
Nothing else on that one. All right. Mayor's report. I'm sorry. Again, I've not written anything down. A lot of the activity over the last week. Oh, sorry, Peter.
Yeah, have we gone through the interests of councillors?
We have, but we also said if there's one that comes up when the minuted item comes, you should raise it. But do yours now.
Okay, well, I can't go on the finance side because I'm a payee, or I'm getting some money off the council.
All right then. Okay, thank you, Peter. Okay. Yeah, so much of my activity over this last period has been referenced the local plan 2. It comes up later on. David's done an excellent document on the education of it. So nothing much more to say there. As a resident, I've had to continue the battle with the NC over the St. Christopher's Drive site, and communicated a few of the documents there to the local councillors, Rupert and Phil and Jake. So we've put that forward. Apart from that, I'm in lockdown, so yeah, it's quite simple. Peter.
Have you had any amphibious vehicles yet over the site?
No, unfortunately, I've been looking for newts and I can't find any newts there. If I could find one or two of those, we might be off somewhere. But the real discovery of this wet period for the rest of you is that the field at St. Christopher's Drive is actually the drainage zone for Prince William School. The water runs off the school playing field there, across there, and forms a big puddle during the wet period in the field. So it will be drained. And the plan in the development there is to raise the ground by 1.5 to 2 meters in that area where the pond is, and that will drive the water back onto the school playing field. So we need to make sure that there is a plan that protects the school with whatever goes on there. Right, not to spend any more time on that, Rupert, with the councillor's report.
Councillor's report? Yes, indeed. In fact, I sent a report to Emma, which I infer she has circulated. Did she?
I've circulated quite a few things actually over the last couple of days.
I remember reading it.
About the Lyveden Brook, potential for flooding.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So that's my report.
Thank you.
Very willing to answer any questions from councillors.
Around the table, is there anybody got any more questions for Rupert at the moment? We have it, Rupert. Really appreciate the information that you are passing on to us. I mean, it's quite complicated times for all of us to understand how this works at the moment, and you keeping us in the picture is much appreciated.
And you'll appreciate it. One important factor is that Northamptonshire County Council are the local flood control authority. In particular, for minor watercourses, whereas the Environment Agency look after all the major ones.
Yes.
So the County Council have enforcement powers in respect of riparian owners, that's the owners who happen to own land on one or both sides of the watercourses, if they're not doing their duty in clearing them.
Yes.
But County Council follow the rather paternalist practice in local government of using enforcement only as a last resort and try persuasion first. As I reported, I'm in contact with Councillor Jason Smithers, who happens to be the County Council's cabinet member, portfolio holder for highways, the environment, and a few other matters. And he's in contact with Ruth Burnham, who is the county's senior flood and water officer, who is a very dedicated and resourceful professional. So Ruth actually arranged for a firm of independent engineers to examine present practice and bring any shortcomings to her notice. If, as and when shortcomings are brought to her notice, I think she will act. But I'll continue to keep in view, keep one finger on the pulse.
Yes, thank you.
Because the paternalist approach to these things is generally consonant with our British tradition of government by consent as far as possible. The action has to be as far as possible. When enforcement through the courts is necessary, it has to be done, or people will simply lose respect for the law and will slide into anarchy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, certainly, we get down to that point, we've gone the wrong route. So, yeah, it's best by coercion. Yes, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much, Rupert. Okay, town matters then to approve the £93,000 for a cycleway. It sounds a lot, but Emma,
Yes.
just run us through it.
Yeah, David Wood has been working quite hard on this and produced a schedule of all the meetings and things he's had.
Yeah.
You'll have seen there's been a lot of to and fro. The original cost that we were looking at was 130,000. They've now added a few modifications, but basically we're going to get the crossing. Let's just see. Upgrade the zebra crossing, extend to Line Road, and going along with the drop curb from Wentworth Drive for the 93,271. It does mean that we've got a little bit of money left over.
Yeah.
But basically, this is what we've got for now, and we want to be able to get on and
Very detailed.
get
Yeah, it is.
started. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's very good.
Go on, everybody.
Loved it. I'm up for it.
Yeah. So it's money there that's specifically for this, and
Yeah.
essentially we're just saying, yeah, get on with it, aren't we?
Yeah. It's the Section 106 money that we've got that was set aside purposely for cycleways.
Okay. Has anybody got any problems with this at all? Or am I
No.
okay to move it?
No,
So
that's
I'd like to
fine.
propose it. And then a seconder from David Fuller. And all those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
David Wood is meeting with the representatives from Highways tomorrow. So I'm going to let him know tonight that we've got the go ahead. So he'll get it all confirmed.
Right. And then to receive the definitive map modification order form.
Yes, this obviously last month we appointed a path warden. We've now found out that the NCC aren't running this scheme anymore, and they've said basically because of insurance. So although Tony isn't necessarily the official path warden, he's going to continue looking, and he did go and he did read the information from Danny Moody. I passed it to him and he's given his views on it. But they've sort of said basically wait and see what happens with the Northants Unitary as to whether the path warden scheme starts up again.
Well, hopefully Tony, as you say, Tony just carries on doing it, and it doesn't matter what's going on above him. He's doing the stuff on the path. That's great. Okay, thank you. Anybody got anything to add on that one? If not, we'll carry on then to receive the very detailed clerk's report. Yeah. I was interested in your training plans, Emma. It was.
Yeah.
Is this based on experience?
What much the training?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just looking at the. Have I sent you the right form? Oh, the emotional resilience.
Yeah, emotional resilience. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a stressful job, isn't it?
No, actually, it was quite interesting. It wasn't quite what I expected. And it did sort of turn into not a therapy session, but a lot of people were talking about things that were quite personal. But there were some useful pointers and things to look out for.
Well, I think that there is, and not just with the staff, but with us old codgers as well. Sometimes we fly off the handle in an unpredictable fashion.
Yeah.
And it's just doing training like that helps you, say, hang on, I can cope with this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and it was, and in actual fact, I mean, there were about 13 of us, I think, and at the end of it, you did feel quite, I don't know, a little bit more uplifted because a lot of people are going through very similar things. I mean, we're all clerks or counsellors, and everybody is going through similar things. So it was good. I mean, with all of these courses, you may not get lots from it, but you always get something.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Is anybody? Yeah, Peter.
I have a feeling that Emma will be very happy for the whole of this season, providing Leicester keep winning.
Yeah.
She won't be down or out,
Yeah.
or she won't be miserable either.
That's true. That's true, Peter.
Okay. So the next one there is the meeting schedule, and I can see our standard meetings in there, but we've obviously now got the annual town meeting.
I did put a little question mark against that because as the annual town meeting, you have to have it between the 1st of March and the 1st of June. I've obviously I've put it down as the very, very end of May. I don't think we will be able to have a meeting in a building in public.
We're almost certain that, you know, that there's no way we're going to have a meeting in a building. But
so it's whether you want to do it on Zoom. It's whether, or we don't. I don't know. We don't have one.
Yeah, Peter.
Let's get the festival field going.
Yeah. So
what's the latest? Sorry, what's the latest date you can do the meeting?
Well, it's got to be before the 1st of June.
Oh well, that's it. You've gone for the end. I mean, it's touch or go, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think if you plan for a Zoom one, we could do it as a live event, can't we?
Yeah, we can do it as a live event. I mean, it's very difficult for people to participate. You know, if we get the sort of numbers that we would like.
I think you might. We had I personally feel that at this stage, if you're not sure, these things take a while to plan, having planned one in the past. And if you're going to make a decision, the sooner you make the decision not to have it as a face-to-face, then it gives longer for the person who's planning it to plan it.
Yeah.
And then we can get all our ducks in order in time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Emma, unless you've got a big objection, I would like us to leave it in.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And as an online event.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
If nothing else, it gets us into the discipline of actually, you know, giving a report back to the town.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. So has anybody else got any problems with the things that were scheduled there? No. I do like the idea you've got a schedule for electing a new mayor. So that's a good idea. Peter.
Well, we are supposed to be having elections in May, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the council might look completely different by the end of May.
Yep.
Well, but that's true. But it'll be the 18th of May, which will be the first meeting of the new council. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Let's hope we've got a full complement.
Let's hope we can actually get elections this year.
Well, yeah.
I think there's a good chance that we're going to do that. Everything indicates that the district and the larger councils are going to have the election, so there's no reason for us not to. And we've got the agenda item, you know, where we're looking at what are we doing in preparation for that. Peter.
I think we should really push the annual council elections for May and get enough people to actually challenge at least everybody that's on the council now, plus more. I mean, I for one, hopefully, if there are elections in May, I will stand if there are not, because I don't want to sort of mess up the council. But I think if there are elections in May, I might be one that does not renew my councillorship, if you like, because I would rather see other fresher faces on the council now.
Well, it might seem a terrible statement, Peter, but I hope we get to that point that we've got enough people.
Yeah.
Can get some new.
I just think it's right now. We should look to try and get more people. On the council. One or two of us, like myself, should stand aside.
Yeah. So let's see how things go on that one then. But we have got the discussion later on, haven't we? About the plan for publicising it. Anybody else got any other input on that? Nope. Okay then, thank you.
Can we do an approval on the schedule?
I would like to propose that as that. And we've got David Fuller as the seconder. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Right. Now we've got the complicated one about the garage. I trust everybody knows what we're talking about here. It's the small lock-up garage at the on the recreation ground adjacent to Pick Arthur. It is not the whole chamber of lock-up garages there. It's just a one-off garage on its own. And I've raised it, we were told about the sale 2 weeks ago. I've raised it for this meeting because if future councils want to do anything with that piece of land, that having that in private hands could alter your options on what you do. So it wasn't a lot of money, but open to debate now. Anybody got something to add?
How much is it?
13,000. Then Peter, then David Fuller. Oh, sorry, and then Ian. Yeah.
I think obviously we should buy it, but we should also make sure that if we do buy it, we sort of make presentations to Pick Arthur to stop them parking in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we said the ground in
They
front of it.
They could get it by default if not.
Yes, yeah, we can do that. David Fuller, then Ian.
No, Pete's done my thing.
All right then, okay. Ian?
I was just going to say it's ideally located for the estates team to store things in, put things in, use things in, whatever. To not have it would seem strategically bad.
Yeah, we can certainly use it for something up until that period of time. As Emma has previously raised the issue about security, anything we did with it, we'd have to be careful, that we have got it secure.
I mean, would we have the potential to demolish what's there and put something better?
Yes, we have a potential. David?
Yeah, I think we should try and acquire it, but I'm thinking of it really for its site value. A, because we could potentially build something on it, but B, if the other run of garages ever became available, and councillors will recall we did try to investigate that before,
yes,
then suddenly the opportunity to do something perhaps quite special in terms of the War Memorial Recreation Ground would exist,
yes,
which might get partially frustrated if we didn't own this garage. So given that it's not a huge amount of money, I see it as a potential asset for the council going forward.
Yeah.
It may be that if it can't be used for storage or anything else because of a lack of security, and it's in a pretty vulnerable spot, it has to be said, then it may be that actually rather than seeing it being constantly vandalized, which might become a risk, we may have to think about demolishing it.
Yes.
But then, of course, if we did, we'd probably have to erect some form of fencing to fence that area off. But let's acquire it first and worry about it later.
Well, a certain thing in terms of what you've talked about there, the cost of the fence will be small compared to the cost of demolition. From past record. Rupert, you're on mute at the moment. Please join in. And then Malcolm.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. About that garage sitting on the edge of the recreation ground, I'm aware that a gentleman in Oudle is seeking to buy it and is in contact with East Northants Council's officers. Obviously, East Northants Council will have to decide who to sell it to, but I thought you'd better be aware of it.
Yeah, thank you, Rupert. If you have any influence over that, please wade in on our behalf.
Well, it'll have to be done fairly because for historical reasons, East Northants Council happened to be the owner of that garage.
Yes.
Therefore, whatever they do, they've got to be seem to have acted fairly and reasonably.
Yes.
It had struck me that if they decide to take the argument to send it to the town council, you might see merit, Mr. Mayor and councillors, in then leasing it by a fixed term commercial rent to the gentleman who wants to buy it.
All right. Yeah.
Making sure that the tenant that then shoulders the responsibilities for keeping in good repair, keeping it locked up.
All right. Yep. Okay. So we've got Malcolm and then Emma.
Yeah, I'm in favour of buying it, but I just wonder what the mechanics are in terms of our budget and how we fund it.
Right, Emma, go on. You've got your question and answer.
Okay, yeah, well, the only way of funding it would be out of your general reserves. You would have
Right.
to, yeah. We haven't got a budget to purchase it.
We can do that. Yeah.
So you would have to agree to take it out of general reserves. I did speak to the lady from Property Search, and she said there has been a lot of interest in it,
Yeah.
and the deadline for offers is the 28th this month.
28th. Okay, so they're not going to sell it before the 28th.
No.
No. Okay then. Right.
So, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Malcolm, and then.
Does that mean we should put in a better offer than the price they're asking to get it?
Yeah, what I would hope for is that they have a bit more public spirited about this. You know, it's an Oundle asset. You know, and yes, it might be more than the current price, the target price, but at least they look at us. They give us the first refusal.
This is ENC you're talking about.
Sorry, Malcolm.
This is ENC you're talking about. So, anyway.
I'm on my best behaviour. Clive.
Yeah, I think we have a very strong case for a public amenity rather than using it as a garage or renting it out to other people. I think I think our best argument would be to extend it as part of the recreation ground and access to everything else. And as owned by ENC, I think they would probably sit up and listen. They know how ferocious we can be about certain things now. I think so. It's probably worth putting in a decent bid and just doing the moral thing.
Yeah. Okay, Emma.
I think I haven't got anything else.
Oh, right. Okay.
No,
sorry. Yeah. David.
I suppose that begs the question, if it is likely to turn into a bidding war, do we need to get some professional advice as to the sort of offer we should be making?
I don't know how.
To some degree, we're just picking a figure out of the air, somewhere in the region of what they're asking for or somewhat in excess of it.
Yeah. See, I would hope that the DNC would allow us to match the best offer.
Sorry to laugh, Tony.
No, but that is the decent thing to do.
I
Isn't
know,
it?
but
yeah.
you're talking about ENC.
Yeah,
exactly.
Peter.
I think we all know that who's going to try it. That's the person that parks his cars in front of it already.
Mm. Okay.
So I agree with Tony. We should actually put in a bid in to ENC, saying that we wish to buy it and we will equal any
well,
bid.
we would have to bring it back to the council to say, in case it got to.
Can we not do that?
Number. But yeah. So look, leave it to me then to write to ENC, and say, what we would like is, them to help us with this. Emma.
I think I know it's very difficult, but I think you've got to have an idea of what you're prepared to pay for it, because let's say if we say we're prepared to match the highest and it goes mad, we've got to make sure that we're keeping a tab on it.
Okay, and that's why I come on the first refusal. Yeah, first refusal at that highest offer. David.
It might be a little bit like shutting the stable door, but I am beginning to wonder whether we shouldn't have taken this item in camera, because we're discussing a commercially sensitive matter and we're giving everybody else an opportunity to hear our thinking and what we may or may not do.
Right. Okay. Therefore, I will leave it at this point and say that I will write to ANC on this conversation that we've had in a very public forum, about the spirit of our Oundle Town Council and for Oundle residents. Peter.
Well, in that case, then, if anything happens, then we're going to have a meeting before the 28th to get the council to agree on a figure.
Yes, we will. When we come to that, we'll call either latch it onto one of our scheduled meetings or call a special meeting.
Okay.
Ian?
I was just going to say there's an estates meeting next week, isn't there? Could we latch it onto that? No. Okay.
No, you're going to be approving too high amount of money. You wouldn't be able to.
I'm just feeling that we could have an extraordinary full council meeting at the beginning. The estate's 15 minutes later. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't think next week there will be enough time for us to get a feedback to what we're asking E&C. So we've got, we need to aim for somewhere around the 21st or about a week before that deadline.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go on then. I'll write the letter. Emma, you can,
Okay, no, I'm just looking at dates, that's all.
yeah. Yeah, I was looking at 28th. I don't even know what day of the week it is, but a week ahead of that.
So the 28th is a Sunday.
It's a good day to close bids, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's E&C for you?
Yeah, so I'd look for the Monday, the 22nd then.
What's the date today? Tuesday,
That's
That's
next
next
Monday.
David?
Well, on that basis, we ought to schedule now an emergency full council meeting at, say, I don't know, 7 o'clock on
Just on
next
dates again,
Tuesday,
then,
because
you know,
we're running out of time otherwise.
Yeah, I was being a bit silly on that. The Tuesday, the 23rd, what meeting have we got on that day?
You've got to, there's no reason why you can't have if you know if you can't have a 15-minute meeting before estates, then it saves everybody else having to come out on another night. And, you know, you can even have, if you have it at 7 o'clock, you know, or 7:15, then it's just before estates.
Is that the 23rd, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, then let's go for that then. We'll do, Peter, if you don't mind us pushing your estates meeting back by 15 minutes.
No.
No, theirs doesn't start till 7:30.
Oh, I
So if
see.
you have it at 7:15, yeah.
Apologies. Right, okay, so we'll go for 7:15 on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, that was the garage. Consider how we're going to promote the election. So this was the thing that we mentioned before. I have been on the NCALC site, seen the stuff that Emma that you put forward. You know, so yes, there's a few pretty pictures if you like, and I know we've done those in the past. Ian, I don't want to dump it on you, but back over to communications. If we know what we want to say, where would we publicise it?
Don't know. What's the time scale? The NCALC thing says that nominations have to be in by the 4th of April.
4th of April, yeah. So you really want to be telling people in March.
Yeah, I mean, there's an advertiser going out in 2 or 3 days' time. We've already got too much for 2 pages. We could put an extra page in. I don't think
if we just did that one page that I can see you, David. Just one moment. Yeah, if we just did that one page that the NCALC could put forward. Yeah, there's an NCALC page, isn't there, for a call for councillors?
Yep.
You used it last time, Emma, didn't you? Well, last time.
Yeah, I think in the Oracle we used a similar version of it as well.
So if we could act quickly, that is definitely one of the routes. Let's just break off here and David Fuller.
Yeah, there's a number of ways you could do this, I think. The way you would do it is, obviously you've mentioned the web page, then you want to point people to that web page. So we've got the electronic notice boards that we need to use and change and have different messages coming. If we use those in a dynamic manner, i.e. not the same message all the time, but a variety of messages, and point them to the Oundle website, that's a start. And then we also need other means for those people who aren't technical, who don't like going on the internet to find information. And I suspect possibly some posters we could put up would be an idea. We've got the notice boards again for those, the normal notice boards. And I think then you've covered 2 areas. And I'm sure Ian and I will have a chat about this with the comms team and we'll discuss more. But you've got to do an electronic version and you've got to do a physical version. That's my view.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right, Peter?
I just think, we should try and make it sound as exciting as we possibly can. I mean, let's just, let's not tell the whole truth. Let's be exciting about it. Let's get people enthused to want to be a councillor.
Yeah.
Says he was leaving.
Well, there's a lot of interest in councils at the moment because of that one in Cheshire. And I mean, we've got all the YouTube clips of all our meetings if they really want to see. I mean, you've got to be fair about it, because if you are committed, if you want to be elected, then you really do need to know what it actually means, which is sitting through meetings that can last 2.5 hours once every Tuesday, once a month, or whatever it is. But if you're happy to accept that, then fine, that's fantastic. But we don't want to con people.
No, I'm not saying
Something that is transparent. I know, Peter, you're doing it in your usual wonderful self to make everybody smile. But I think we could collate some of the YouTube clips, some of our highlights. Highlights of council meetings would be a good YouTube thing to do. I mean, seriously, because there have been some interesting discussions. I mean, if you were to take tonight so far and you put it down into 5 minutes, that's actually some very interesting discussions we've had already. And the amount of information we're getting today through Emma about the e-bikes and stuff going on in the area is fantastic. And also the fact that you have an influence. It's just painting the life of the councillor and how we do that. And I'm sure.
Well, I would certainly, we need to be a lot more glossy than we are. And if we manage to run the campaign without mentioning meetings once, would be a damn good idea.
Yeah, but they're part of what you have to do.
As I looked through some of the things that were going on in the town, with the green spaces, the gardens, the other activities, it's the council enabling that lot is really brilliant. David?
What we do need, having said that, to guard against is enthusing people who come along, attend 3 meetings, and we don't see them again. Because the dropout rate on councils is always pretty high. And the fact that we're down to 10 out of 14 now is an indication of that. And it's no good selling it in a way that when people come onto it, they become instantly disillusioned and walk away from it. What we actually need is people who are prepared to come onto the council and work at it.
Commitment.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, they just don't grow on trees.
So if we leave David and Ian to sort of kick this one off, and you essentially you've got a remit, to do whatever you think right.
A job description.
Time is of the essence here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a case of do it and you sort of ask for forgiveness afterwards. But and then if you need any more creative input from the rest of us, please shout. Okay. Right. So next one, discuss New Road and the issues raised about reference resurfacing.
Do I have to tell you that I live on New Road? What is it?
Interesting.
Okay, I'll pop you down.
This came from me, didn't it, Emma?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of Facebook conversations about it and stuff on Nextdoor, and I've spoken to a lot of residents about it. And I suppose the impact from our point of view is we seem to be at the bottom of the food chain on this, but it has a huge impact on the town. So I've just seen on an email this morning that Stoke Doyle Road's going to be shut for a few days in a couple of weeks' time, and New Street's obviously going to be shut. And I'm not sure that we as residents and we as a council get very well communicated on this, and we certainly don't seem to have a lot of input, I think, in recommending what work gets done around the place. And I suppose the one thing I was thinking about was raising this to the Estates next week, but I suddenly thought I should raise it tonight, see if the council was happy that Estates maybe took a more active remit on engaging with highways, particularly with Northampton coming up, and asking for, I'm having a running war on Twitter at the moment with Anglia Water about New Road and what they're closing and how they sign it and stuff like that. And it's really hard to get us as residents' views across to these big people. So I just thought I'd raise it, and if we were happy, raise it at Estates again next week.
Yeah. Okay, David.
I mean, I totally agree with Ian. I mean, because as you know, New Road is not finished yet, and the parts that aren't finished are starting to deteriorate, particularly around the lighthouse, which is a certain person who really does care a lot about New Road, and I mean, it's deteriorating on a daily basis. And I know we had a delay because of the snow, But really, New Road needs to be finished. And I mean, it's already been dug up because of the Anglia Water thing at the entrance outside, Pick Arthur's. But there has to be also probably from highways with better knowledge of what actually some of the roads are. One of the ways of finding out that New Road is actually a major road in their thinking is because it's on the gritting list.
Yeah.
That's something we found out at JAGS, wasn't it? That we found there's a gritting map of the county, and then you realise that Springfield Road and New Road are on that gritting map.
Okay. Yeah, Ian.
Just mentioning the unfinished nature of it. It's it's lovely to have new tarmac and it's all very shiny, but the fact that it's been left and there's no communication with any of the residents or the people that use the road about when it might be finished is obviously a bit of an issue, just being left hanging. And then the other issue is the issue that you raised in the East Northants a local plan conversation, that idea of the broader pressure on the Oundle network. When you look at Oundle in the 1960s, there's been so much development in the north that it's hard to know how it all flows. And so I just think we need a better conversation. Maybe the rural group is something to do with it as well.
Yes. Okay, Peter.
I think one of the things we could do is go back to the North Bridge and see if we could actually maybe get some information from the NCC people that actually did the North Bridge, because they are still working for them and they are the people that actually do these roads and resurface and things like that. So do you think it would be a good idea to sort of talk to these people again, write to these people? We've got all their email addresses, see if we can push it that way.
We'll have a think about it. We've got Val and then David.
Somebody I know who has pursued this quite a bit says that they're not going to finish the surfacing off on New Road because Anglian Water, and maybe it's the Rivers Authority as well, are trying to now find where the springs are that are the constant problem in that road.
Okay.
And they're going to sort that problem out first before the road is completed.
Okay. And then
which
David?
I think is a good sign, because that's the way it's been for so long.
Yes.
Oh, well, there's been a lot of massive, but that's the point. I don't know if that was a response to the email that Emma sent, because I raised it as an issue to say, when are you going to finish it? Emma wrote an email to your link at Highways. Was the response what we've just heard? Was that the response?
No, I don't know. From what
That's
I can,
the issue. You didn't get a response.
I know. I mean, I don't know quite what's going on, because we used to get the integrated reports that used to give us an idea of what works, minor works, major works were going to happen, because we were always looking at that for North Bridge.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't always accurate, but that seems to have stopped. We're not getting those through. No. I don't know whether it's because as well they're coming up to the end of the financial year, and quite often if they've got money left, they throw it at all sorts of roads, and all of a sudden a lot of road works start happening because they want to spend that money.
Yeah. So look, what I'd like us to do, rather than throw it on another agenda item on the estates, I would like to get Annabelle as our what are the NNC called now? They're not a county council, are they? They're district council, are they?
I don't know. I think they'll just be like a unitary council. Yeah.
I would like to get Annabelle engaged in this one, as her role. I see Rupert's trying to raise attention. Rupert, I have to remind you, you're not actually a member of the council, but please.
Actually, purely on a point of information, very briefly, if I may, Mr. Mayor, NCC and ENC still exist and will exist until we all voted for NNC, the unitary.
Yeah.
So Annabelle is our county councillor. Work through her.
Yes. So please, Emma, just on the things you want Annabelle to be aware of is, first off, we're not getting notification of the events early enough, and we're not having an input to prioritisation. And then the updates on what's actually happening we're not hearing about. But I think it's particularly relevant now because they've asked for input when they're putting out the contract for the new contractors to replace Kia. So we would like to engage with her in what our experience has been and what we think it would be good input for her in choosing the new highways people. So let's see what comes out of that one, and we'll move on for now. Thank you. Right, financial matters then. So this is mostly what we've been through in the finance meeting last week. So they approved the bank reconciliation, balance sheet and budget for January. Has anybody that wasn't at the finance meeting got a problem with them? Anybody that was at the finance meeting got a problem with them? No. Okay then. So I'll propose those. We got a seconder. Yes, we've got Malcolm there. All those in favour? That's good. Thank you. And then the payments for January. Anybody spotted anything unusual in there that worries them? No. So I saw there the computer payments were in there as well, weren't they, for the schools?
Mm-hmm.
Did we get any feedback from the schools? Did they have actually bought something with the money?
I don't know. I'm sorry, Peter may know.
I've had an email from Prince William, because that's the one I was dealing with more than the Oundle Primary. Yes. And they are so happy and so thankful to Oundle Council.
Very good.
We've got a big tick there, and I think that's brilliant. I'm sure Bolbury Jakes had the same sort of email from OPS.
Okay, no, good news. Right, so in terms of the proposition, then, anybody got a problem with it? Okay, I'd like to propose it then. And we've got Val as a seconder. All those in favour? Peter, would you like to vote for them as well?
He's declaring an interest.
I can't.
No.
I do apologise. But missing that point. Yes, okay then. Thank you. Right. Receive the finance and general purposes draft minutes from the 9th of February. Anybody, any issues in there?
I'll propose it. Oh, no, we don't have to propose. That's just receiving it.
Yep. Okay then. Right. Receive the internal control report for the second quarter. This is Jerry's report, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Has anybody got any problems? No. Then. And then review the internal control policy. Anybody have any problems with those? No. Those.
These include the amendments that we agreed at the
finance meeting. Okay. So considered reviewed. I'm just checking for hands again. Review the effectiveness of the internal audit review document. Anybody got any problems with the effectiveness of it? Okay, thank you. And then to approve the quote to maintain the grass area at the cemetery.
Yes, this obviously last year we had huge problems because of the community payback not coming, and also the fact that we were unable to keep on top of it, as well as the other grass. The company that we use at the moment to cut our grass verges, this is their this will be their second year within this particular tender. So I asked them. They did come in and do a cut for us last year when it was in a particularly bad state. So he's given us obviously three options. The first one is for 8 cuts. He recommends the 10 cuts though. He said if you want a cleaner finish, 10 cuts would be better, because he said in the beginning, sort of March through to sort of summer, they'll want to be keeping on top of it really regularly. And then obviously as it sort of slows down, then they can go back to a monthly. So these are the quotes that I've got. I know it looks quite a lot, but it is a huge area, and not that easy to cut.
Yeah. Yeah, Malcolm.
Have we got any other quotes or just this one?
No, because quite honestly, it's been quite difficult to get out there. I mean, every time, with lockdown and one thing and another. Yeah. But because we are currently using them, when we had the quotes done before, they came in at the cheapest. So.
Yeah, I can understand the differences.
Yeah. Ian?
It strikes me the cemetery's got a really important amenity use in the future, and we've clearly seen that people want it looking good. And when I went down to the photographs for that Hound Life article, I was amazed how many people were there just walking around. And so I think it's beholden on us to do a good job, or at least try doing this for the year. So
it's a big green space.
Yeah. Sorry, Emma.
Yeah, my thought was we do it for this year, and then come next year, the tender will be up for the grass verges, and then we can go out and get quotes for everything. I mean, unless community payback are back, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know when they will be able to come back. But
Well,
we've got to be prepared for, we might have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. Now, it would, when I look at the cost here, it would be very good if we could bring this back in-house, and have it, somewhere either with additional staff or some way of doing it ourselves. It's that it says 20% VAT. Is that included in the price, or is that additional?
No, it would be additional.
That's additional, is it? It's just the way it appears in the columns is a bit odd. But,
yeah, it's sort of it's been produced like an invoice, but it's not. It's a quote.
No, okay. But
so unfortunately, to bring it in-house, it would mean that you would be having to employ at least 2 or 3 extra people throughout summer months.
Surely. I mean, that this, in terms of what we're talking about a day's work, aren't we, to do one
day's work for about three men.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you wanted to, what I'm saying is, if you wanted to bring it, they bring their own equipment. If you wanted to bring it in-house, we'd have to get extra equipment, and we would have to have those people employed.
To talk about, but my view is now we should approve this one, and because as Emma described, it's very difficult to get additional quotes at this point in time, and we'll do it as a one-off, but we must next year.
Yeah. It may be that community payback will be back next year, and if they are, then we'll just be using those again.
Well, what I would hope for with the cemetery is it becomes a tranquil area that we can use more. It's a big green space of Oundle, and at the moment, we're almost defining it the wrong way as a cemetery. It's a park.
It is a cemetery.
Yes, I know it is a cemetery, but in terms of there's a cemetery.
You've got to be a bit careful about the sensibilities of the family members who are still alive.
Yeah, but what I mean though, Val, is that it's a place to go and reflect. It's a quiet.
Yeah, people do. I mean, as we've heard, they do go.
Okay, so Peter.
Yeah, just going off the subject slightly.
I'd rather not.
It's to do with the actual extension of the cemetery. As you know, David Wilson was going to give us some land at the back there to actually extend the cemetery. Now, from what I understand at this present time, they're not considering going ahead with the housing development, so they might not give us that land. And I'm not sure if they've actually purchased it yet. I don't know that particular detail, but it might be worth looking to see if we could purchase the extra land ourselves.
Okay.
As I say, it's going off subject, but it's just a thing that I think we should throw in and deal with fairly soon.
I know you've gone off the subject, but it's an important point you've raised there. So Emma, let us do this first, this vote on the grass.
Yeah, sorry.
Before I move on to the next agenda item, I would just like to pick up on what Peter's raised there as an issue. So has anybody got any objections to us doing this for 1 year?
Are we doing this for 10?
10 cuts, yeah, because if you look at it...
I agree with you.
Yeah. It
I'll second it.
Okay, then.
Whatever.
All right, Malcolm's proposed. I'll second it. I'm in favour. Right, thank you.
Is that right? Okay.
Just on the issue that Peter has raised then. David.
Bearing in mind what's coming up on the agenda very, very shortly, it may make sense to discuss it under our response to the local plan.
Yeah, okay. What I was going to do, David, then, I'll tell you the subject, and then you tell me which way around we do it. But it was whether or not we put in a statement of an area of community value now on that extension to the cemetery. Because we know the process is long, You know, but there is an area of the town there that we thought we were going to get, you know, and it would really throw the town into turmoil if we don't get it. So I don't know, Emma, what's the process? Like, we can't do it now at this meeting. But if we were to consider that, which meeting would we consider it at?
Well, estates you would consider
Estates,
it
right.
at.
Peter?
Yes.
So could you, Peter, get on your agenda that piece of extension to the graveyard as an area, well, I forgot the wording of it though, an asset of community value?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want
I
me
can
to
ask
speak?
Lisa.
I was going to
Could
say,
you, could you speak to Lisa?
I'm seeing her tomorrow, so
Oh, in that case,
we're
you
sorting
do
another.
it.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I'll speak to Lisa.
All right then, thank you for that.
Brilliant. Thank
that
you.
diversion, and thanks for raising it, Peter.
Okay.
What do you want? Do you want? Is it an update? Is it an investment?
I think
what you're going to do.
There's two things. Firstly, obviously, we've got to look and find out whether David Wilson has actually now bought the land, which I don't think they have. And also, we could look at the charity that's involved there, which I can't remember the damn name, but Philip Amps.
Fear fees or fees.
That's the one. To see if they're willing to sell it to us for an extension to the cemetery. And or the landowner, because there's a different landowner directly behind the trees.
Yeah.
Where where the house has been built.
For now,
behind that.
Yeah. All right. For now, I think all you need to talk about at the meeting is registering our community interest in the land, because at house prices, we probably couldn't afford it anyway.
We do need to look at how much land we're going to try and register as a community.
Well, it's the piece that was allocated in the plans today.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Receives the planning committee meeting minutes. David, is there anything contentious in those?
Absolutely nothing. No. I mean, they've been circulated. Unless anybody's got any questions, I suggest we move on to the second limb of the plan.
Yeah, Peter.
Peter.
Good. David, have you had yet? And I haven't read the planning minutes. I haven't had time. Have you had yet a planning application from Ashton Estates for the old people's homes along the A605 where the pub is?
It's not our land.
No, I haven't seen that. I know that Lisa sent me two things today, which I haven't even managed to look at. So I don't know whether it's in there, but I've certainly not seen anything like that.
I appreciate it's not in Oundle, but as that is sort of part and parcel of Oundle, if you like, with the the communities and things like that. We really do need to know what Ashton are doing about it. And I know that he has put in for planning for old people's homes down that length of road by the A605.
That's good news. Good news as well. I get away with that place. Okay, it's over to David, because even if it's not in our area, Oundle Town Council will make a comment.
Yeah, I'll research that one, and if appropriate, we'll have that on the planning committee agenda for next month. The other item that's on our agenda for tonight relates to the, I almost say, infamous local plan part 2, which is now at its pre-submission consultation stage under Reg 19.
Yeah.
Now, essentially, we have enough time to make a decision on our response at our next full council meeting, because I think the response is due at the end of that week. I've already put together the beginnings of a potential response to the consultation. It's already relatively long, and it leaves out the longest bit, which in fact would be the analysis of why we say that the site appraisals undertaken by ENC in favour of the sites that they have allocated in that plan are actually not robust, probably therefore not sound. But quite apart from that, we have two other issues that I think I want to float tonight. One of them is this, and it relates very much to that site off Stoke Doyle Road. That is the third allocated site in the local plan, and as things stand as at today, the only one of those 3 sites allocated that has not already got outline planning permission, and as far as I know, no immediately imminent application coming forward. Now, there is a case to make, which I've sought to make in that draft response, to say that actually, because of the numbers they're proposing to put onto the Cotterstock Road and St Christopher's Drive sites, effectively 260 units, and since within the local plan part 2, they talk about 242 as being the minimum number required, there's a case for saying you don't need a third site at all. Now, the advantage to not having the third site is A, less building and therefore less pressure on resources. B, we avoid some of the potential issues that that site causes, particularly perhaps at Warren Bridge, and the whole traffic issues that that site might generate. Those are, if you like, the things that might count against the site, albeit that we ourselves included it in our own proposed neighbourhood plan. But of course, the downside of it is what we were just talking about a minute ago. Within the local plan part 2, the suggestion is, of course, that land should be made available for a cemetery extension, and presumably, if that site were to be lost, then the extension to the cemetery would no longer become part of what would be some section 106 requirement for the development of that site. So as a council, we're going to need to make a decision about how to play this. And it's not something I'm suggesting we do tonight, but it's something we need to think about. And my suggestion is that we effectively put this matter on the agenda for planning, invite all non-planning committee members to attend the planning meeting anyway, and actually discuss this in detail then and try to come up with a view. The second issue, perhaps a less significant one in some respects, is policy 41, which I meant to add to the thing I sent round, and then realised that having said we ought to consider it, I hadn't actually bothered to print out for you what policy EN 41 in relation to the Riverside said. It's quite short, so if I just put you in the picture for those of you who perhaps haven't read the local plan part 2. So the policy is redevelopment proposals for the former Riverside Hotel is allocated on the policies, as allocated on the policies map, will be supported by the following uses. A restaurant, a public house, a hotel, or tourist accommodation, in line in effect with what its use used to be, however many years ago it is now. A training facility and or a resource centre, or small business units or other potential service employment uses, which is pretty wide. And it goes on to say redevelopment schemes should deliver the following criteria or outcomes. A, retention and enhancement of the heritage asset. So that's the actual building itself. So not knocking it down and redeveloping it, but using that building as a base. Appropriate flood mitigation measures, including appropriate measures for access and egress. Provision for new moorings along the River Nene with direct riparian access, and improved connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists to the town centre via the North Bridge and use of riverside paths. Now, it may be that we have views around that. We may actually take the view that that policy is spot on. if we don't, we'll have to think of a good reason why it could be challenged at this stage of the process. But actually looking at the rest of the plan, in terms of things like what it says about defined shopping frontages and the town centre and the like, I don't think there's anything else in there that we probably would necessarily take issue with. The key things that we are going to worry about is what it says about housing uses, albeit that we've got these 2 outline permissions already, and arguably the 2 issues that I've just touched upon. So there's some food for thought there. I don't know to what extent, if at all, anybody wants to talk about it at this juncture, but I think the main discussion will have to be left for planning.
Yeah, okay. Emma, sorry, Peter, just before yourself, Emma, did you want to say something? I didn't know whether this was a hand or not.
No, sorry, I was just scratching my head.
All right, Peter.
If I can go on to the Riverside thing first, David. As I understand it, and I've got this on very good information, the ENC have already basically said or given the nod to, I can't remember the chap's name that owns Ashton now. It's not Rothschild, it's another name. But anyway, he's the son or grandson or whatever of the Rothschilds. They've already given the nod to old people's homes down there. So I think that might be slightly different to what you've said. And I think maybe if you can find, I can try and find out for you in more detail and probably email you more about that, so I can deal with that. In regard to the draft that I've got in front of me from you, David, I think it's very comprehensive. One thing I would try and put into this, and I'm not sure where we would stand in this, but Jake, as you know, and Ian and Tony were at the meeting where they discussed the local plan, and Jake's speech was incredibly effective that night in regard to the fact that he lambasted the officials on the planning committee at ENC, and in fact made it quite pertinent that nobody really had any say in the local plan, and it was all down to the planners. I don't know how well you know Jake, David, but I think it might be worth, if you have a chat with him, maybe putting something more, how can I say, more edgy into this draft to make it a little bit stronger in that respect.
Right,
I don't know how you feel, I'm just sort of saying.
Well, I know Jake very well. I can happily speak with him and get his input into it. I must say that what you said about the possible use for the Riverside, I mean, on one level, it's staggering, because how can you put forward a local plan for submission for approval if at the same time what you're doing is coming up with a completely different plan to one of your own stated policies? If it was anybody but ENC, I'd say it's impossible, but because it's ENC, anything is possible, it seems to me.
Well, as I say, I have it on I'll talk to you privately if you like, David, about where it come from, but I won't sort of mention it.
Let's have a conversation outside of this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
David,
okay.
Just a point on, we're only allowed to raise the specific issues, aren't we, at this stage?
That's right.
So
I'm not saying we shouldn't. What I'm saying is there's no reason why we can't make it a bit edgier.
No,
and go for the throat, Tony.
Yeah,
it's no good pussyfooting about with these people. We've got to go for the throat.
Yeah, but I say if we go for the throat and miss, then we're not doing any impact at all. We've got to make sure.
Well, no. I think what I'm saying is that this draft is really good. It explains a lot of the information, and I'm totally in agreement with this.
Yeah.
But I think if we can make it that little bit edgier with what Jake had to say, I think it might just be slightly more readable is the wrong word. Hitting the point more to the people that are going to read this letter, in looking at the local plan too.
So we have to object to one of 4 categories, don't we? And I think the category that I felt most comfortable with was that over they hadn't given due consideration to alternatives.
Yes,
well, that's a typical way we can deal with it. With what Jake said, I think he brought that up really well. So I mean, it's up to you. I'm only putting my point of view. I'd like to see it a little bit slightly, so a little bit sharper towards the fact that we think that the officers of ENC did not do their job properly. And I'm talking Paul Bland and Richard Palmer.
Rather than do it
and one or two others
now, I know David will get it in the right legal terms for it to.
I appreciate that. That's why I said David speak to Jake, not me.
Yeah. So that, there's one part of the thing about facts, and then there's the other way, the way we tell the story.
Well, I think we can do both.
Right. Now, David, just while you're here, do you see any point in us doing an information pack for the town for the people to put in their own objections? And the problem, the reason I ask it in that particular way is the way that people complain about it is extremely complicated.
Yes, it's not the most straightforward of things, because you're right, there are only a limited number of grounds on which you can object, and realistically, of the 4 grounds that you can object on, there's only one that we stand any chance of seeing through, and it's on the word justified.
Yes.
Which they define as an appropriate strategy taking into account the reasonable alternatives and based on proportionate evidence. So the things we have to attack are the evidence base which led to it,
yes,
and the fact that they rejected sites for the wrong reasons, which may have been better sites.
Yeah.
But of course, the whole thing has been rendered, and this is what's so frustrating, largely irrelevant by virtue of them having granted outline planning permission on 2 of those sites before they even put the plan forward for submission.
Yes.
Which I think is actually outrageous, and might very well be an issue for future years, to ask Parliament to legislate in a way that just stops local authorities behaving like this, because it's made a mockery of the entire process.
Yeah.
Because our scope for doing anything is probably limited to knocking out the 3rd site, either on the basis that we don't have a 3rd site, or on the basis of putting forward a different 3rd site to the one that they're putting forward.
Yeah.
And none of which
but in
pleases
terms of
me
telling
very
the town, is there anything simple we could tell the town?
I think the short answer is no, there isn't anything simple that we can tell them, because I think that they will struggle to actually understand in sufficient detail what's being done. Ideally, we would publish our own response and invite people to back it. But the difficulty with that is there's going to be very little time between us presumably approving it on the Tuesday and the close of the consultation, which I have a feeling is the Friday of that week.
Right.
But it's not impossible. I suppose we could tell the town that we will be publishing our response on the Tuesday, and if they agree with us, will they please submit supporting statements, supporting the points that we've made.
Very good
Might
point.
be the best we could do.
Yeah. Ian, so is it a case of be all coiled up and ready to go with that one? I think we possibly, Emma, will do a bit of a note for the town notice board and pass it through Ian, that we put it on the web page just to say what we are doing, because I know there's been a lot of people asking what we're doing. Ian.
At the moment, it's coming up in the communication section later, so I won't touch on this too much. But one of the questions is, we've got a section in the advertiser, what do we want to say? But I've had a go at the form already, and it's extremely complex and mind-numbingly specific. You've got to say which paragraph, why, etc., and then put evidence forward for it.
Yeah.
But also, I think from our own neighbourhood plan issue, the inspector was very clear that if you end up with, I don't know, 10 or 20 form responses, they consider them as one. So the danger, of course, is if we say you should all write this, it'll be for nothing. So I think the best we can do, perhaps, and we can talk on it later, is just to raise awareness now. Say we'll publish our response as soon as we can, and if people are minded to get involved on those 4 points.
Okay. All right, I'll do something short then and pass it across to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Anybody else? Anything on that for the moment? It's a big subject, and appreciate David. Yeah. When I read what you got through there, your knowledge of this subject. Yeah. I can talk flowery, but I can't talk facts the way you do. Emma.
Yeah, just a quick one. So it's going to go back to planning.
Yes.
To be discussed further and tweaked, and then come back to the full council meeting on the 16th of March for approval.
Yes,
and all that's doing really. I would appreciate everybody turning up to the planning meeting, to have that discussion and have the input, because when we go to the full council meeting, it will be a rubber stamp time. Yeah. All right. Okay, very good. Thank you then. So estate matters. So receive your minutes, Peter.
Sorry?
We're receiving your minutes.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Anything to worry us about?
No.
Okay. Anybody else got any issues on estates? No. Right. Thank you. Right. Communications working group then, Ian, over to what you were mentioning before.
Yeah, I mean, it was just to raise the issue of how the council, how planning would like us to put forward some feedback. I'll send you a copy of what I've got at the moment. We've got to get it to print by Friday. So I think the best we can do is raise people's awareness of it and take it from there. So hopefully it's really not very exciting. The other thing is as I said previously, Oundle Info is ticking along. We've got the estates article for Oundle Life. I think hopefully going off to there tomorrow. So thank you, Emma, for your photo on that. And the advertiser text for everything else we'll get through on Friday. The only thing is, I was just looking at Thrapston's Council's Facebook site last night, and they've got lots of nice videos, particularly bedtime story reading from, I think, their mayor. I thought that might be something.
Yeah, I can imagine May putting them to sleep. I'll read the local.
But certainly maybe a bit, yeah, excellent. Or maybe just a little bit of bit more video content, but that's something we can look at in the future. So that's it.
All right. No, thank you, Ian. I'm looking at the electric notice board when I have my weekly trip out. I don't get out very often, but at least we're getting some stuff up there. Clive.
Just a quick point on what Ian said. I think it's very important. It's going to come up. I'm going to introduce something in the other business at the end, but it seems to me at the moment that we need to do that sort of thing, like have video clips and interesting things put into it, because there is a still, dare I say, sort of paper. There is still this around the town. There's still this thing about let's use paper all the time. Let's do leaflets, and there is a place for that. But I think it's very, very important that we look at other websites and we look at other ways of doing things.
Yes.
And this is certainly the way forward, because else it just we're beginning to seem a bit stagnant.
Yeah.
Compared to other towns.
Yeah. No, I think our website now looks a lot better than it has in the past.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not. I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's not a criticism. I think we need to. The communication aspect of it is very, very important.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Rural Communications Group. Peter or David, is it? Which one of you does this one?
It might be easier if I've got terrible feedback here. It might be easier if I did it simply because I chaired it. Peter was a little delayed.
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get on.
The minutes are probably self-explanatory. Since the meeting, I've realised a little belatedly that I thought I'd done something that I hadn't. I've been in touch with Emma. I sent her a draft agenda. I am about to send you after this meeting the draft aims, objectives, concerns, etc. And I think we'll probably be trying to aim to have a meeting. Was going to be sort of middle to end of this month. I think it's actually going to have to be the beginning of next month, in which we will try and take the whole project forward, get a bit of a structure to it, and then actually develop a plan for how we go about engaging with the new unitary authority.
I think that covers it all, David.
So unless anybody's got any questions. Tony, you're muted.
Switch on your voice, Tony.
No, I was asking anybody if they got any input to it, and also in that same Malcolm, I think it's yours that's echoing.
Mine?
Yeah, your yellow box comes round you every time we have the bad session.
Oh,
Can you just try muting it while you're not on?
yeah, sure. Well, I'm having trouble here, I have to say, but anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I've just had everybody echoing and
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
work out what was going on. I ended up taking this off because I thought it was this, so I don't know.
It's not
No, it's Malcolm.
Malcolm's gone.
It's Malcolm's fault.
How is it?
All
Right.
right. So
I'm going to take this off now anyway.
on that subject.
Watch out, I'll come back.
Okay. So thank you. I mean, we just in terms of the community thing, it seems to be well received, and we a real success on this story. Right, correspondence then to receive the clearing snow and ice leaflet. Yeah, so the leaflet essentially said you're allowed to spread the salt around from the salt bin, and you won't get prosecuted. And there's enough salt to go there 8 miles. So it's a bloody long walk with a shovel full of salt. But yeah, I thought they were going to actually tell you you're not allowed to put it on your own drive, but they
do say that.
It does say
oh,
that.
they did.
Yeah.
I'm very selective on my reading.
I've been putting it all over the roads.
Okay. Then receives the NCALC update for January and February. Received.
Yep.
And then we're moving into confidential matters. So at this point, I'm afraid George and Robert, unless you've got something you want to say at the moment, we'll have to ask you to leave now.
No, thank you. I'll leave.
Okay, well, thank you both for attending, and look forward to seeing you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Right, Emma, you're on mute now.
You're on mute now.
Yeah. Do you want to do the vote? No.
I'll do what, sorry?
Do the vote to close the meeting.
All right, take a vote to close the meeting. I'll propose it. We've got a seconder from Clive who's just in there quickly, and those in favour? Okay, this meeting's now closed. Off we go.
Hang on, what about the one against?
Now.
Okay, so on the first proposal, then it's accepted that we or agreed that we will put this through to the recommendation made by NCALC.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we need to vote on it, Emma? I can't remember.
Yes, please. Yeah.
But, I'll propose it. Val seconded. All those in favour? That's a full house. Thank you. And on the second point,
I don't think Malcolm has. Malcolm, you're on mute.
I abstain.
Oh, you abstained. Okay, apologies, Malcolm. Right, and on the second point, then we said that we would hand this over to our insurance company to handle for us. So David's proposed it. I'll second it. All those in favour? And I think we got full outs on that one, did we?
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah, right. Right, any other relevant matters for report only? I think somebody said they had one, David.
Yeah, I've got one.
And Clive.
Well, it was just going back to the item we had earlier on about footpaths and how using processes which seem to be lawful, footpaths have been closed down without any parish or town councils being informed of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as the writer of our note observed, it's unlikely that the person who drafted the legislation envisaged that that would be the outcome. And I do wonder whether we should be lobbying our MP for a change in the law, because it seems outrageous that such a fundamental thing can happen with us being left completely in the dark with no way of putting in any comments whatsoever, when actually the outcomes, as you can see from that note, can be quite serious. So I would be in favour of us actually raising this with Tom Postler.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah. Could somebody draft
It's
something?
on a future agenda, because we shouldn't really be approving stuff. I know you all agree, but we shouldn't really be approving it in any other business.
Pop it on the agenda for next time and I'll formally propose it then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Peter?
It was just actually going back to the bikeways and the saving of I think it was almost £40,000 on the original quotation. What has anybody got any ideas what we can now use that 106 money for?
By a garage.
Cycleways.
By a garage.
No, I thought they'd already been. We've given the 96,000. I thought there was there was some spare then.
So, sorry, the whole 130 odd thousands that we got from Section 108 money is to be spent on cycleways.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's written within the agreement. We can't spend it on anything else. There are a few things that David Wood has been looking at.
Okay.
Right, fine. Okay, thank you very much.
On my screen now, I've got Val, Ian, Clive, and then Emma. Right.
Cycleways wise, we're going to have to maintain the verges better probably anyway, that kind of thing, which
yeah,
to spend
okay.
that money on. I've got a comment about if it's appropriate for this meeting, about the rugby club problem that we've got.
Yes, please, Val. Any help would be
sorry.
You want to
Go on.
us there?
It's just that we've had further information from the solicitor that's going to go on to the estate's agenda next.
Yeah, I saw that.
Read the Seaton's thing.
But I'll just tell you about my comment. I spoke to Barbara Dean, who was around more or less from the time, well, she was our clerk for a long time. Then she was the district council. And 74 was when we became an urban, we weren't an urban district council anymore. And she said straight away when I said what had cropped up, her comment was rubbish. It's never been owned by anybody but us.
Yeah.
And certainly since after 74, when our status changed, she got onto the lady who worked for the council at that time and did all the transfers of land that took place between the old council and the new district council. And that lady said no land on Occupation Road was transferred. It was all left for Oundle. It wasn't put in the name of the district council. And she knows that. She could remember everything she did do, and she's absolutely certain that she didn't do that.
Right. So
Can I ask you one question, Val? Sorry, I know it's dragging on. I don't want to sort of. You're on estates, aren't you?
Yep.
Right. Could you bring this up on again on estates? Because
I will do. I'm just making it.
I've read the Seaton's letter, and obviously, in regard to the Seaton's letter, we need to get some sort of correspondence from those people with their knowledge of what happened then. So I'll speak to you in the estates. Is that all right?
I tend to do that at estates, but I just thought in general.
That's really good. Thank you very much, Val.
I don't know if you saw what I put out earlier this evening. ENC have that the land registry entry number against a piece of land in Nassington.
Yeah.
A typo error on their part. The last 3 digits were 143, I think, instead of 133.
Yeah.
So there was a typographical error which has got that piece of land registered. You know, the piece of land registry entry is against. They describe it as Nassington.
Yeah.
So you can see what's happened. They've gone in there, they've typed something wrong, and they've ended up being registered the wrong piece of land.
Yeah. Well, perhaps we should be registering the piece of land in Nassington.
They're fortunate they've gone back in and recorded that piece of land, and that's why I can see where they are. But I think there's enough there to say that it's a typographical error and we need it correcting.
Yeah.
Sorry, just whipping around this screen again. Then we've got Ian, Clive, and then Emma. You forgot what it was now, Ian, haven't you?
No, I'm on mute, and I can't. Am I on mute? No, I'm not.
You're back now.
My screen suddenly went very small. No, mine's very boring and not even very funny. I was just going to suggest we try to do a cycleway from one side of New Road to the Recreation Road through the garage, and then we could use the S107 for it. But that was all. It was a little throwaway comment, and then it got really exciting.
Okay. Public amenity money. Public amenity.
Clive?
Yeah, no, it is a report thing. Yesterday I did a video, a Zoom meeting with this sort of resurrected tree trail thing that's happening. There was a tree trail leaflet put out in 1991 of all the trees around the town that are auspicious and were of note. It was an interesting meeting. I sort of explained what was happening and what we were doing as a council, that we were very interested in trees. We were planting trees because that's one of the questions that came up was, do we actively plant trees? And I just so happened to say yes, because we have, thank God. The other thing that came from the end of it was that the group are trying to get a tree trail. The business association have a where to buy stuff trail map. The museum want to have a places of interest map, and we're already talking in the communications group, Ian is about getting everything together. And it seems at the moment, because of the Love Oundle thing that's going on, the Oundle in Bloom thing that's going on, there seems to be a duplication happening. And at some point, I think we all need to get to sort of tie it all into one thing.
Yes.
Because at the moment, there's a little group want to do a tree trail. There's a little group that wants to do a historical trail. The business association obviously wants to do, where to buy stuff. And there's a golden opportunity here that we could all get together, tie it all into one good, sensible map.
Yes, yeah.
For want of a better word, and let everyone know what's going on, rather than have it duplication. And it is in some ways it sort of falls back onto Transition Oundle, because they seem to be in the centre of it all, but not. And this is no criticism of them, but although they're there as a sort of a group, they're not much of it is being tied together very well.
No.
So I think we either put some effort, we either step in and put some effort in to make it happen, or we, go around and say, look, okay, we have a meeting with them all and it all sorts itself out.
Clive, could you just explore this a little bit further with Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jerry, because I know Jerry's probably on that Flatton Field meeting tonight.
Yeah. So if you can have a conversation with Jerry and come back with something between the two of you.
Yeah, that sounds sensible. Yeah, we'll do.
You. All right, we've got Emma then.
I was just going to say, Jerry had circulated an email earlier on some of the things that he's been speaking to Transition Oundle about. And just, I don't know, did everybody?
I saw it, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
All right. It'll come in the post tomorrow.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, well, look, I apologise for being a minute over time. Unless there's anything else that we want to keep us going for, I thank you for attendance. We've got quite a few things to do, Emma especially. But thank you all then. All right, cheerio from me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.